Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night Podcast, a podcast about the stories and relationships board games create. I'm your host, Roy Canny, and with me always is Matt. Exactly. And Rob. How's it going? So we missed last week, seeing that I was on the road and you guys were crazy busy. But hey, we're glad to be back. I can totally hear you. Skype is the best program ever. Nice. And Matt has the auditorium audience. He's actually playing in front of a live studio audience in an auditorium. So. I just took the reverb on your channel and just turned it all the way up. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's good. Nice. Awesome, guys. Hey, we can banter about whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah. That's awesome. Nice. Did they say they only hear me? No! Okay. Epic Gaming Night is sponsored by Tasty Minstrel Games. Make sure to check out the Tasty Minstrel podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. This podcast is made possible by the support of patrons like you. Thanks for your support. Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night Podcast, a podcast about the stories and relationships board games create. I'm your host, Roy Canny, as with me as always, actually this time, is Matt.
Hello. Am I not muted this time?
Check. 1 2 1 2. And hey. Rob. Is he pretending not to talk, or are you actually?
I hope so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, no.
Oh man. Okay, Liz says we're good now. Me and Matt were just like, no, why? Dude, there was like a solid 2 months where every single time Rob would try to talk, it would just slowly fade away.
Oh, I remember.
Oh man.
Good times.
Well, I just got back from Gen Con, and this episode is going to be talking all about all sorts of exciting things that were announced at Gen Con and coming out. And games we played, and just the situation at Gen Con in general. So, super exciting.
That sounds great.
That sounds wonderful. Everybody kept asking me, Rob. They're like, did Rob make it? I know he said on the podcast he might try to make it down for one day. Did Rob come?
Oh, that's sweet.
There was that,
nah,
and then there was a lot of people that would purposely call me Rob and then look at me. And I'm like, I mean, I'm not upset. Rob's the one who gets upset. It doesn't bother me. I just look at him like, I guess it's an inside joke, but that's not really how it works, but okay.
No. I wanted to come, but got swamped with work, had some big stuff happen, and then my dad came up for a quick weekend. So I was like, okay, now I'm definitely not going. So...
If they would have actually had that one expansion, you would have been there, though. I'm just kidding.
Bro, if they would have, yes. I, 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 I mean, I probably would have driven overnight to go buy it.
That's awesome.
I
Yeah.
would have like sat outside the convention and give somebody some money. Like, all right, hey man, go buy this for me real quick.
Oh yeah. I'm sure we
And
would
just
have been
taking
able to
it
work
home.
something out.
Not even trust you guys to bring it back for me. Just like, no. Like, we're gonna FaceTime the whole time. I'll wait in line with you like you're waiting in line. Let's go.
Nice.
Technical issues up to speed.
That's awesome.
Oh, and Darth. Oh, anywho, good time.
Anyway, super pumped, super excited. Missed everybody. Wanted to be there, just couldn't be there because of work.
Yeah, for sure.
Got to make the monies.
Yep. Well, the news
So
article,
Gen Con.
the first thing in the news that we have is that game. Did you get a chance to look at the article on the Fantasy Flight page or anything, Rob?
About the
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, Mother of Dragons. I have not looked at the article yet. To be honest, I don't care what it says. I'm just gonna buy it. Like I literally don't care. I wish they would have added more.
Yeah.
From what I've seen in the pictures and stuff so far, I wish there would have been more, but I'm still happy. In fact, I'm going to be out of town for Christmas, and I'm already planning games of this game where I am out of town for it to happen.
That's awesome.
So, but it looks like it's going to it's adding dragons into the mix. It's adding a Targaryen faction into the mix, and I believe House Aaron, which is the Frey or the Eyrie. The Eyrie.
The Eyrie.
And so I'm excited to that. I hope they make it where it's a full 8-player game now. Like,
it is.
Yeah.
You can play 8 players now.
Okay. Because I know we played that custom game at Dice Tower Con for 9 players. But to have it where you can now do 8, that would be completely amazing.
Yep.
So I am excited.
It has the whole sideboard. I mean, you were even talking about that like back in the day. They should have a sideboard where you have the Targaryens come in from or whatever.
Well,
That's
you could
literally what
easily
it
add
is.
that, right? You could add a little top board for the White Walkers above Winterfell.
Yeah.
And then you could add the sideboard. I think Champions of Midgard did a great job of showing those sideboards and then just making one like ultimate board. But it's very doable, man. Just do it. You'll have my money. You'll have other people's money.
Dude, at the demos at Gen Con, they had like this neoprene mat that just had it all together, and I was just like, man, I want this
would buy
mat.
that.
Like I wish they would release that, or I hope they do release something like that, because that mat was awesome. Like, I would buy it. It looked amazing. They should do that for more of their board games. I mean, other companies
You should
are doing
play
it.
the game.
Other companies are doing it, So,
Oh yeah.
What was I gonna say? But if you don't, the expansion comes with like the sideboard that you just set off to the side, and then it comes with like a little like add-on thing that you add into like the whole Eyrie area of the board that gives them like a harbor and things like that.
Did you get to play it?
I didn't play the Game of Thrones. I looked at the pieces and looked at all the different stuff. But
Because I'm interested to see what happens with the dragons.
Yeah, there are dragon like meeple type things that are kind of like the same little pearlized stuff. But that'd be interesting to learn how they interact with the Targaryen faction and such.
I'm pumped. I'm sorry, I'm also yawning, but I'm very pumped.
Yeah, it looks great. And it's crazy. Like, it's funny when they announced it. They're like, "This is an expansion for a game you didn't think we would ever do an expansion for." Or whatever, and they're like, because it's really old, and they're like, Game of Thrones, like, because that game's been around for forever. So,
Yes, it has.
I mean, literally,
Which kind of bothers me.
Yeah, because they could have
Just make
capitalized
a
on
third
this.
edition.
They could have capitalized on this like forever ago.
Make a third edition that follows the show.
Yeah.
What is that?
Your mic is echoing now, but it sounds like it's echoing through Matt.
Hooray!
Hey, Matt.
I don't know why it did that. So
That's cool.
headphones might help, but I don't know why Skype would pick up the audio coming from Skype, because it's not supposed to do that.
But anyway, I just I'm a little upset that they can announce another third edition for a game, but they can't announce the third edition. And I know we'll talk about the other game, but anyway, I'm still excited, but I'm a little hurt at the same time, because by doing this, they're basically saying, to me at least, I read it as, yeah, we're kind of done with this. Like, this is it. Like, here you go. We're not
Yeah.
going to try to restart it. We're not going to try to redo anything, even though they have the HBO license.
Well, I mean, at this point, it's like the HBO show has one season left, right? And they're gonna gear it up.
but they've already announced a prequel. They're going to be
Oh,
doing
gotcha,
a prequel,
nice.
and it's one of the highest grossing, if not the highest grossing show of all time.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's a huge moneymaker. You say Game of Thrones,
Most people know what that means.
most people know what you're talking about. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not as big as Star Wars or anything like that, but still, most people know what you're talking about. And to not capitalize on that, or to make this like Iron Throne game or Hand of the King game and stuff like the card game, I get it.
Yeah,
The card game's a good idea, but yeah, so I'm just a little disappointed because I just feel like they're done, and I feel like you could do so much more, so much more.
Well, I'm definitely gonna buy it because I have Game of Thrones, and I'm like, yeah, I definitely need to add that to my game too. So,
I wish you would have played it,
Is
oh, the
that-
9-player, dude, I would have loved to play the
or
9
the 8-player,
Oh,
because
the one there, yeah. Man, I was booked at Gen Con. By the way, it was hard
Yeah.
for me to get the demos in because I was just like running. Because when I'm doing all the stuff for the Dice Tower, I have to like run around, take pictures, ask people questions, and then I was at the Jack Vass Memorial Auction booth a lot, and then I was always super busy when the hall was open, so I had time after
Yeah.
the hall closed because I didn't have to do anything. But like to get those demos in, and it's just rough.
I get it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, did you guys hear anything at all about this next game that they announced? This, I guess, was their big announcement. It's crazy.
I had no idea about this, but now I want to play it,
Dude.
really bad.
Okay, so let me set this up for you guys. So this is Keyforge. This is a brand new card game from Richard Garfield, the creator of Magic the Gathering and King of Tokyo and Android Netrunner. Well, regular Netrunner, and then Fantasy Flight made Android Netrunner. But basically, Richard Garfield, like one of the best game designers ever, they actually had him come out on stage and explain the premise behind this game. So basically, he wanted to create a game that would reinstill the sense of like discovery and wonder when you open a pack. So in other collectible card games back in the day, they never said the word Magic the Gathering while on the stage, but they're insinuating Magic the Gathering. You used to be able to open up a pack and get a dragon, and you were like the only person in your neighborhood or in your friends group who had like the dragon. But these days with the internet and like game stores and like net decking and things like that, everybody can go online and see exactly all the cards that's in the game, and then people take the cards that they see and build like these decks and post them online. And the tournament scene basically is like, if you're not playing this specific deck, you're probably not gonna, or a deck that counters that deck, you're not really gonna be winning the tournament. What they did was they made a game called Keyforge to kind of like have a completely different spin on this whole card game thing. So Keyforge is a game where there's no collectible aspect to the cards individually, but the decks themselves are all completely different. So every single deck in the game is different. There is no two decks in Keyforge that are the same, and there's no deck building whatsoever in Keyforge. So when you get a deck, that is the deck, that's the way it is. The name on the back of the card is computer generated, so they have an algorithm that makes the name, and the art on the back of the card is computer generated. Then it adds in like different cards from 3 different houses. It's the whole theme is like this whole like alien center of the galaxy. There's all sorts of alien races that have come together to battle over the resources and stuff to try to get the amber to build keys and stuff like that. But yeah, the theme seems very like Cosmic Encounter-ish almost, which is kind of weird for a theme for one of these card games. But the gameplay is pretty straightforward. It's kind of like Hearthstone mixed with Epic a little bit, but like if Epic was actually good, because Epic you can play cards for free, and the combat works very much like Hearthstone. In this game, you have 3 different houses, and you're going to be using one of those houses each turn. So you'll get a hand of cards and you'll be like, okay, well, I have the Shadow faction, or you could have like the Logos faction. And it's like, I have a bunch of creatures for this one. I'm going to play out my creatures for this turn. And then, okay, you always draw back up to 6 cards, and you're just trying to get amber to be able to. If you get 6 amber, you're able to build the keys to win win. If you get 3 keys, you win the game. But you can only activate cards that are of the faction you picked for that turn. So the next turn you might pick one of your other factions. But if you do that, you won't be able to activate the creatures you already have on the board. So it's kind of like, do I want to attack with what I have, or harvest amber with what I have on the board, or do I want to play more of the cards out of my hand and build my board up more? So sometimes you might have a cool action card that will help you kill off their character, but it's not the same faction as the creatures you have on the board currently. So it's kind of like an interesting game of which like every single turn I felt like I had interesting choices of which house I'm going to actually activate. So it just makes the game very interesting and dynamic. On your turn, your creatures that are on the board, you can either attack with them or you can harvest with them. If you harvest, you get amber. If you attack, you're basically trying to knock out their creatures to stop them from getting amber or stop them from attacking and killing off your other creatures. And it's this whole back and forth. The combat's super simple. You just have like a strength and you attack them, and like you both lose hit points equal to the strength of the other creature. You can also have defense, which like lowers how much damage you take in combat. But the game is simple and straightforward, but the whole unique thing is the fact that you can't build decks, and that each deck has random cards and is like no other deck. They have a card pool of like 400 something cards in the game. So you'll see the same cards over and over again, but never the exact same way. And the algorithm itself is allowed to take cards that would normally be in a specific faction and change it over to a different faction. So you might have the only instance of like that card being in that faction like in the entire game, which could be kind of crazy. But yeah, so how does that sound, or what do you guys think about that, or do you have any questions about the whole thing?
I like the idea of a new card game. I like Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
I didn't like getting mana screwed or whatever, but it was just part of the game. I like the whole creativity behind it, how everything is brand new. I think it does bring in a sense of excitement.
Yeah.
Because like I could be the only one ever who has this. I really like that creativity aspect of it. But besides that, it just seems like another fun card game that I'd definitely give a try.
It seems like it's forced to be casual, you know, because you're not going to be building decks. You're just going to get some decks and you're going to play with those decks against each other, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, if you get good at a certain deck or just get good at the mechanics of the game, you might do better than other players, but it's not going to be based off of you buying the most expensive card and building the best deck with the most expensive cards you've gotten.
Yeah.
I was talking to Jamie Keggy, which is from the Secret Cabal, and he was like, it seems like what they did was they got together with Richard Garfield and were like, okay, we can't beat Magic because Magic's just going to win. What do we make that Magic players could still buy and play, you know? So they're like, okay, we can make this Keyforge game so that way they don't have to worry about building decks. They can just play it on the side casually and just have fun with it. And if somebody wants to go crazy, they can just buy tons of different decks trying to find out if they can get a really good combination of cards. But I just think it's funny, like, the way that some of them are. Like, one of my decks is called, like, the Usually White Scion of Westhold. I'm like, the Usually White? That's really weird. And there's just really weird names, like such and such the third of whatever, and it's all like computer generated, so the names get really silly and strange. But it's pretty cool. Jamie was saying one of his is like the lady who only fights against strength or something like that. I'm like, what? Okay. So.
And is this available Q4?
Yes. We were talking, and I think it would have been like a smash hit if they actually had it there, you know, because each of these little decks are $10, and you could just grab some of them for like super cheap and just play with them, and like that's all you do is these decks play against each other. They gave away 2 decks to every single person at the in-flight report, so I have a couple decks, which is pretty cool. I'm really happy that I ended up going to the in-flight report because I had a scheduling conflict and then it cleared up, and then I'm like, oh, I guess I could just go to the in-flight report.
Yeah, when did they change it to be prior to the con?
This is the first year they've ever done that. So, and I thought with them having that, they would announce something that would be like, oh, this is now at the booth. Woo! There wasn't anything that was actually like that. And I was like, oh, okay.
Because they did that last year with TI4.
Yeah, pretty much. So I was pretty much
like, hey,
expecting
guys.
it. I'm like, what's it gonna be? Where's it gonna be at? No.
Because typically, in the past, like they'll put up that one little like flirtatious empty spot in their in their bookshelves where they're not having anything, and then and after this, now you can get it now, or now you can demo it now, or.
It's kind of funny because I was in the hall when the vendors were setting everything up, so I got to see the empty spots in there. And I was talking to Brian, who works at Fantasy Flight, and I'm like, oh, I see there's like 3 empty spots. He's like, more like 2.5. And I'm like, okay. And then they, of course, I did that the night before and then put everything in there. So there was never like an empty spot for like normal people that would walk by, you know?
Yeah.
It's just always like the new stuff that's in there. And they're like, oh, what's this? But I thought that was interesting that they moved it up, but then didn't announce anything that was actually there. So it's kind of like, meh.
In the in-flight report, did they go over any like financials or successes or anything like that? Like, did they talk about Legion at all?
It was really interesting. I mean, they changed it up. They didn't do like the whole keynote thing. They just announced new things. So all they did the whole time was just announce new things and then did Q&A. And it was kind of interesting. It had a very different feel than some of the keynotes I've been to before because they didn't go through all the, this is our financials and this is this and Fantasy Flight's the greatest and best or anything like that. They just said, here's the L5R role-playing game. Here's
X-Wing is still killing it.
X-Wing. Here's the new X-Wing ships. X-Wing's going to be adding in all of the, what is that show? The Rebellion or Star Trek, Star Wars Rebels or whatever, adding in all that stuff into it. But
aren't they coming out with a new edition of that though? So you have to get like new cards.
They did have the second edition of X-Wing there. I guess that was like their big thing. But of course, if you're not into Star Wars X-Wing, it didn't feel like they had a big thing. So
yeah, but like if they do that though, right? Like, can you still play with your old stuff? Is it just new cards?
Yeah. So what they did is it was second edition of X-Wing. I don't know if we actually talked about this on the podcast before. But second edition of X-Wing, they have like upgrade packs where you can bring all of your old stuff into the game. But if you have massive amounts of that old stuff, you're going to have to buy a whole lot of upgrade packs. But it adds in all the cards you need, all the dials you need. What's interesting with the new system they've actually had where they don't have like as much points on the cards for your army building, and they have an app now that helps you build your army.
So that way you can get more ships on the table. That's cool.
Yep, well, and also they can adjust on the fly. Like if something's just really overpowered or really underpowered, they can tweak the power levels of those depending on like the meta. And they said they're not going to go crazy with that, but like, I mean, that's one thing they do in video games all the time, right, Matt? Is you can buff or debuff or send out a patch for your game, and it's kind of a way that they can with X-Wing send out patches, you know. Because I mean, if it's all printed on the cards, they're going to be extremely hesitant to change the value on something because people that come to a tournament and don't know, it's like, oh no, we added one to that. So,
yeah,
good times.
Interesting.
Anyway, X-Wing. I ain't got time for X-Wing.
I don't know. If you want some nascent things about Keyforge, I feel like there's a couple of things to me that seem really odd.
Yeah.
So first up, it seems very cash grabby, right? Because it's just like, look, it's a small thing. It's just $10. It's going to be completely unique. You're like, okay, cool, whatever. I don't have a problem with that because it's a CCG. So it's like, that's part of the business anyway. The computer-generated names.
How many decks are people realistically going to buy, though?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. But you say that, but then you have people who play like mobile games where they're looking for like one card in the collection, right? And they're just like, I just want to get something like this. I just want to get something cool. And then they'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on this cell phone game to get a character or something.
Well, if they know that every single thing is completely different, there's no way they can just buy. If they're like, I'm a completionist and I need everything. If everything is different, you can't possibly buy every single deck.
Right. Which brings me to my second point. I feel like computer generation isn't quite up to snuff. For that, because like look at, for instance, like No Man's Sky. It was a game that was supposedly had quadrillions of systems with planets and all had this lush lifestyle, and
Yeah.
everything was procedurally generated, and it was all crazy. And then it came out, and everybody was just like, you know what? That kind of looks like the third or fourth dick monster I've seen on this planet. And oh boy,
It just gets kind
And-
of repetitive and boring at a certain point.
yeah, I feel like it'll be fine for a while, but then you'll start to see patterns and things, and you'll just be like, oh, well, that's just that combination with this thing. So it's like it's fun for computer stuff because you don't, I don't know, there's less physicality to it, so you're
Yeah.
less worried about it. But then at the other point, it's just if everything is truly random, you can't strategize
Well,
against what
it's
your
not
opponent has.
truly random. Well, I mean, the decks are built with an algorithm, so the decks are meant to not be bad. So
Yeah.
it has like combos a little bit linked together, but then it also has like you have to have this many creatures and you have to have this many like
Yeah.
action cards, and
Okay.
you have to have this many of each of 3 different houses. So when you break it, it's only a 37 card deck too. So like when you break everything down, it's kind of like, okay. But I mean, I feel like it's probably not going to be a cash grab too much, because any sensible person would buy like 4 decks and be like, okay, I have some, you know. And I mean, what will make it really cool is playing this in like sealed tournament play, you know, where it's like you get a deck and you see how it
Yeah.
does, you know.
That's the real shining point, because I feel like otherwise it's hard to say that, oh, I have a deck that I like playing, let me take it in there, because then you're going against people whose decks that you have no idea what is in there or what could possibly be in the deck.
Well, the
so it's
card
hard
pool-
to strategize.
The card pool is like 400 something cards, so I'm pretty sure eventually you'll start. I mean, not eventually, but you'll definitely start
yeah.
seeing like. I mean, even the 2 decks that I have similarities of the same cards, so it's kind of like, well, I know what that guy does, and I mean, I'm sure at a
I
tournament
guess,
you wouldn't play the
I
same.
guess at that point you're looking more at, okay, well, if he has that card, that counters this part of my deck, so I need to play it at this time to see if I can. I don't know. Like, Richard Garfield is very good at game design, but I was reading this stuff about it, and I was like, this seems really weird to me.
It is
Because
really
Richard
weird.
Garfield
I'm
is
pretty sure that's the
also
point.
coming out. He's also coming out with another card game this year, but it's one for Valve that is built around Dota.
Oh, crazy!
So, yeah, he's done another one called Artifact that I think it seems interesting. I don't know. I think it comes out in October or something, but it's sort of like Valve's answer to Hearthstone. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
So when I was comparing the two, I was like, I lean a little bit more towards Artifact than I do Keyforge, but it could just be my propensity towards games. I used to spend a large chunk of my life playing.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't. But
I mean, I see a lot of your points. I think you have good points, especially when it comes to the computer generation stuff. But for me, this is going to be like a novelty item, like a stocking stuffer. I don't think next year it's going to. But for like $10 to jump on some quick hype, I'd pay $10 to get a deck and like you did, Roy, play on the way home, or like play while I'm waiting to play something else or something like that.
Yeah.
So because $10 to get into a game and to be able to play a game.
It makes me feel like buying those little Summoner Wars decks or whatever, you know. But those Summoner Wars decks are always going to be the same. But these decks, you just buy a random one and you get interesting stuff. And this deck might be slightly different, but the deck will still work, which is kind of cool. I don't know.
Well, there's a couple of things that are kind of goofy about the computer generation, but I mean, I also agree. I think over time you'll start to see it wear and tear, and things get a little familiar and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like they have the opportunity to do a lot and to do really well with it. I just feel like it's one of those things that it'll come out, it might sell well, but if it has sort of, I don't know, average or dismal sort of sales performance, you won't see anything else for it ever again. And it's just one of those things that if they're touting, it's a new CCG by Richard Garfield, you feel like, all right, guys, this is the answer to Magic, right? And to me, it doesn't seem like it is going to have the longevity for it. But I'm also just playing devil's advocate. So
No.
I don't think it is an answer to Magic because I don't think anything can beat it. But
It can't beat Magic. But I think where
and this game, having played it, this game can't beat Magic. But
they should have had it at Gen Con.
Oh yeah, I think they
jump on the
missed.
hype, and you're going to have 65,000+ people there a day. And how many of those thousands go through their booth for $10? Sure.
I got 2 for free. Yeah. I probably would have bought at least 2 more at Gen Con if I had a chance.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you're waiting in that Fantasy Flight line, and you get in there and you're like, yeah, you know what? Let's just get 2 of these, round it up to an even 150, call it a day.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know. Anywho.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I guess I can go over to the next Fantasy Flight game, which is Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. I'm
interested to hear about this one, man.
So many Lovecraft games. But Arkham Horror itself is a game that got me into the hobby. Playing Arkham Horror, I played Battlestar Galactica first, and then I played games like Arkham Horror and Pandemic, and Shadows over Camelot. Pandemic, I actually felt kind of like, that's fine. But Arkham Horror and Shadows over Camelot were like amazing to me. And Arkham Horror, I just continued to play. I had no idea what Lovecraft was before I played the Arkham Horror board game, so playing that was really cool. And this 3rd edition seems like it takes all of their other Lovecraft games and smashes a bunch of it together. So it's kind of interesting because it's a modular board now, but it's still that like whole Arkham Horror city-based theme where you're running around a city, doing your investigator stuff, trying to stop gates from opening. A few of the things that are interesting about this one is the board's modular, and the board is set up based on the Great Old One that you pick. There are cards that are specific to the Great Old One that you play with, and there's like a almost sort of chaos bag-ish, but it's more like your Mythos bag where you're drawing out of it at the end of a round to spawn Doom and monsters in each of the city sections, or in the little Arkham sections, the city parts of town. Some of the interesting things in it is it adds some of those like flippable cards like you have in Mansions of Madness, where it'll be like one thing on one side, or also like Eldritch Horror. It'll have like one thing on one side, and the back of it could be different depending on which version of that card you have, which is really cool. One of the things I thought was really cool about this one is that now the monsters are cards. So at first I was like, the monsters are cards.
What?
The monsters are cards, which is kind of blah. But when you actually go up and encounter the monster, it flips over. Like you have the title of the monster and what it is on one side, but then you flip it over and it'll have different versions of that monster with different abilities. So that's kind of interesting. But in Arkham Horror, Rob, they were just like tokens before. So in this, they're actually just cards, which is kind of interesting. But it allows them to have tons of the same type of cultist or tons of the same type of like monster, but then the opposite sides have different abilities and different like stats on them. So it could be slight variations on that monster, and you're never quite sure which one you're going to get, even though it has the same name on the top side.
Did it impress you enough to want to buy it?
I mean, honestly...
Not just for nostalgia, not because it was like the first game. Let's say you never played this game before, and having played Eldritch, and being a fan of Eldritch and Mansions of Madness, this new edition, is this something that you would want to add to your collection because you'd want to play it to compete against Eldritch?
For me, I feel like it's on par with Eldritch, or maybe even a little bit better with the mechanics that I saw. I liked it a lot. Personally, out of all of them, my favorite's still Mansions of Madness. Just because this has a little bit of interesting intrigue in trying to figure stuff out with the Great Old One and stuff like that. But it makes it very pandemic-y, where there's doom building up in each section of the city. And if you don't clear out the doom, then a gate opens. Much like, oh my goodness, there's about to be an outbreak. It feels sort of like that. And once the gate opens, then monsters can come out, and you have to go over there and seal the gates. And you're trying to win by completing or getting clues, which the clues in this game feel very much like Eldritch Horror because they're more story-built. But trying to get clues to be able to defeat the Great Old One. If you get a certain number of clues successfully, you defeat the Great Old One. If a certain number of gates open, then it starts putting doom on the Great Old One, and that causes you to lose the game. But yeah, I love the whole mystery and puzzles aspect of Mansions of Madness much better. But this, I feel like if this is going to be one of your starting off points, I think it'd be great. Like if you don't have tons of like Eldritch Horror or tons of Arkham Horror 2nd edition, I think it'll be cool. But as far as like people that aren't into Arkham Horror or didn't like Arkham Horror before, this is not going to like change your mind. It's still pretty much do the things, get random events, roll the dice to try to succeed, upgrade your characters. There's a lot of cool ways to upgrade your characters in this. Because now when you focus, you get to add to a stat while you're focused, and then you can discard that, add to your stat focus to reroll dice. But yeah, it's still very much like rolling the dice and investigating and running around. I want to get a copy, honestly, just because I have played all of these games and just kind of want to buy it. And I feel like they're probably not going to put out much at all for Eldritch anymore now that this is out. And I like the whole modular aspect of the board, but I don't expect like everybody to switch up and change this. If you don't have any of those games, this would be a great starting off point. But it also depends on MSRP. I'm sure hopefully it's more like a regular board game and not as expensive as Manches is, because it doesn't have miniatures. It can't be as expensive because it doesn't have miniatures, right?
Yeah.
Manches is still better. That's my consensus.
I don't know. I was following a lot of people while they were Gen Con, and a lot of people were like, man, this is great. They're excited for it.
It is cool. It's
I may jump on it because I don't have any of my Eldritch stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Because I know you have a lot of Eldritch stuff, so I was like, all right, why do I need to keep mine? So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know, man. I'm just bummed that they did a 3rd edition for this game and they didn't do a 3rd edition for Game of Thrones. I'm still not over it. I just think that's really, really dumb with all the money that they could be making. There's not a top series of Eldritch Horror or Arkham Horror, but there's a top series of Game of Thrones, and I don't even care for the show. I like the game. I love the game. So
yeah.
I'm just going to be bitter over any new additions that come out, and then the 8-year-old too late expansion, which I'll still buy and I'll still play and I'll still love. But like my copies played so much, my board is in pieces.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Like that's how much I've played my copy of my game, just from like folding it and unfolding it, and folding and unfolding and moving it and taking like, I don't know.
So you want a new edition so you can get a new board?
Well, no, I just go buy a new game. I mean, I just go buy a new game. But like, I don't know. To me, Fantasy Flight seems a little bit like Hollywood right now, where they're not making new stuff per se. Keyforge sounds cool. I like the cliche about it, the quick hotness.
Yeah.
But Hollywood right now is just remaking a lot of old stuff.
They've been doing it like that for the last few years. We've been
for
talking
a long
about.
time.
We have like episodes about that, pretty much.
Well, and Fantasy Flight is remaking a lot of their old stuff. New edition this, new edition that.
Yep.
And then their big new games that they come out with, some of them work and then some of them don't. And so they're just going back to, well, we know this worked, so we're just going to,
yep.
We're just going to reprint this. Like, okay. Like if if they are doing new stuff, it's new stuff with a popular IP, so it doesn't feel new. Like Star Wars Legion, I like the idea. I want to like the game, but it's just I don't like some of the cards and some of the things that I've seen how it plays. Mm-hmm. But it's just another miniatures game. Like, give me a brand new IP. Let's get out of Lovecraft and let's get out of some space opera and make something brand new. Like, that would be amazing. Let's make something that hasn't been made before, like Keyforge. That's the one reason why I like that idea. It's unique, it's cool, it's fun, it's fast, it's $10. Love it. I'll buy a couple decks. I'll play with people. But like all this other stuff, just remake. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And you're not remaking the one I want you to remake. Remake all the other.
Nice. Well, speaking of all that, we did want to mention that it was announced that Christian Peterson's going to be stepping down from Asmodee North America by the end of the year. And Christian is basically who started Fantasy Flight with Twilight Imperium way back in the day. And he is such an important person in the industry, so it's kind of interesting to see that he is taking it. I mean, I think he said he's going to take time for family and all this different stuff. So, and he made Game of Thrones, and now he's leaving. Rob, how are you sad?
He did. I will say this last thing. all this reprints, Fantasy Flight has definitely made CMON my number one company. It used to be Fantasy Flight, but like CMON has got new stuff coming out all the time.
Yeah, wacky racers and all sorts of crazy stuff. Victorian Masterminds and Gizmos. And
Rising Sun, Blood Rage, the Potion Explosion. You got all these new games. You have Lorenzo, Richard the Lionheart, Ethnos. You got all these awesome, cool new games coming out. And of course, they're still doing their expansions for like Zombicide and other stuff like that. But they're constantly pushing their mark on new content, and they're supporting their content as well. And man, CMON, you're doing it. You're doing it right, CMON. Sorry. Christian Peterson, you know what? Thank you. First of all, thank you for all that you've done, because you did help this industry tremendously. You super creative. And it started off, for a lot of people that don't know, the Fantasy Flight thing started off as a French comic book company.
Oh, yeah,
he was trying to make French comic books. It didn't go so well for him, so he went into board games. And I think the board games have turned out to be very successful. But, I mean, just his business mind alone and his business success, nothing, I can't say anything bad for him, even though I don't agree with all of the moves as a fan from a business point of view. He's doing really well. He made very, very good money. He's not asking any of us for a loan.
Yeah, that's what everybody was saying. I was like, well, I mean, if you like sold off Fantasy Flight and then became the CEO of like the biggest part of the company that you sold to, I mean,
yeah, like you're doing okay.
You can't be doing bad. I mean, Fantasy Flight was huge when they got sold to Asmodee. I mean, he's got to be doing okay. He's like, oh, well, you know.
Yeah.
Also, Brett, we're not talking about that right now. No.
Who said that?
Brett and chat. But yeah, good.
Well, and also, I kind of agree with Mark a little bit in chat. Taking time to be with family. Was he asked to resign?
Taking time to make more Game of Thrones and Twilight Imperium content. You're going to get bored. I mean, you can't stay home doing nothing. I mean, you got money, and you're going to get bored, so make Twilight Imperium expansions. It's fine.
I would love for Colby and Isaac and all the plaid hat guys to start like Acid Wash Jeans game company or something like that. Just like something crazy, or like cargo shorts game company. Just like leave and start their own.
They're punching out some games this year.
I know, but like
it's literally insane.
I could.
That's all the stuff that's been in the queue
going to another company or starting a new company, or because he is a creative person. I could see him trying to do that.
Yeah.
I don't like this monster that Asmodee has become, and now that they've sold again, or they're in the process of selling to that one company, and I don't know if you've done any research on the company that bought them, but they buy everything. They buy medical facilities, they buy engineering tech, they buy computer stuff. I mean, they are basically a portfolio that buys successful other companies, and then they sell them off or they redistribute them and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, did all this happen just for money?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why Christian Peterson decided to resign or leave.
Yeah, I think it had been in the works for a while, but of course that had probably also been in the works for a while too. So. Yeah.
So we'll see, man. We'll see. I was actually in a good mood. I was in a good mood. Matt dropped his thing, and now we can't find it. It's on the floor. It rolled away somewhere. I don't even know what it is.
I've got this giant bag of dice, and it started to spill over, so I don't know how
Bro, I need dice. Where did you get those dice?
Oh, you can just buy them on Amazon. It's like one of those pound of dice bags. It's $10 to $20, and they just literally send you a pound of dice.
It's just a ton.
Yeah, but are they like good dice?
No. Yeah, they're Chessex dice.
I mean, yeah, they're good, but
just because of my
they're super random.
My Song of Ice and Fire, I want some like cool custom dice. I was looking the other day
you can get that sort
about
of thing.
Creating some custom dice.
Dude, you should have just told me which colors you wanted. I could have gotten you something awesome or I mean, if you wanted to create custom dice, you could do that on their website.
I would like to have some dice with like the Targaryen, the Lannister, the Starks, and other stuff. That was the one thing I didn't go in on, or a couple things I didn't go in on Song of Ice and Fire. Now I'm like, no. So
Well, speaking
anyway, Christian Peterson, you're great. Sorry.
you are great, and you made my favorite game and one of Rob's favorite games. So
Oh, one of my favorites of all
Matt
time.
says the verdict's still out on you though. So get good. No, I'm just kidding.
Good at what it does.
Awesome. Well, speaking of Plaid Hat, I got a chance to play Guardians, which is their new like head-to-head tug of war, Overwatch-ish looking game where you're trying to play with 3 different heroes, smashing them together, and then trying to like push the payload to like win these different locations. When I saw it, I was actually kind of worried. I was like, is this gonna be too much like Smash Up, where you're like counting your numbers on each side and see who wins the location?
Yeah.
It's not like that at all. It's still, you're still trying to win locations, which I don't like. That kind of game I'm not as big of a fan of like the Smash Up style game with the numbers, but this is very different where you're trying to control it and knock the players that are at that location out. So you're doing damage to them, trying to wreck them, and if you knock them out, you get to push the location marker towards their side, and then if you push it all the way, then you get the points for that card. And if you're there without them having somebody that's unexhausted, then you get to push it at the beginning of your turn. It's kind of cool because you mix up these characters. There are special cards for each character too. So you have like super moves that you're like powering up as you play the game. You're just playing out different cards that are going to let you deal damage to their guys. Lots of responses like, oh, that guy moved. I play this response to snipe him as he moves from one location to another. I played with a character that has like poison, where if she's unexhausted, she can poison people. So she has a lot of card that pulls people towards her, so she can poison like all of their guys at the same time, and then make them waste actions to try to like go defend the other locations. There's also just super awesome stuff in this game, and I'm excited about like how it comes with like a bunch of different heroes in the box, but then you can mix them up in different ways each time you play to like change up your strategy. It was fun. It was pretty easy to get a grasp on and play. I did get to demo this with like the first day, like right before the halls open. I got to demo this with Christian, which is like their lead playtester, and we were playing a little bit. I'm like, oh yeah, I think I got this. And it's like normally when I play with people, like I normally go easy on them, but I'm not gonna do that anymore because you're doing too good. And I actually ended up like beating him in the game, and he's like, dude, at a certain point I just couldn't stop you from like taking the locations. I'm like, yeah, that's what I like to hear. So then I went on Instagram. I was like, yeah, I just taught the lead playtester how to play Guardians.
Yeah,
or
I
whatever.
saw that.
And then he just messaged savage, but yeah. But I had a lot of fun, and it's a really good game. It's really cool because we just had Colin on, and he was flipping out about this being his new game and being at Gen Con and everything, and they sold out of it and stuff. So it's cool, and it's definitely fun. I'm excited about like the future of the game. If they put more stuff out and things like that, it'll be really cool. And it's like super simple because the character decks are really tiny, like really small, and you put 3 of them together to make your deck. So they could totally do all sorts of crazy stuff with this game. But I'm excited to try out the different heroes I haven't played yet. So, but yeah, that's Guardians. Definitely check it out. Rob, this is one that I feel like you'd like a lot, so we need to play.
Oh, you have a copy? Of course you have a copy. Screw you. You have a copy. Congratulations. That's awesome. No, I do want to play, and I'm also really excited because I saw you and Sam playing
Sam
after hours as well. And typically that shows me a good game when you're going back to play that game again.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, all right, I'm just playing it because Colin was on the show. So, and plus I like Plaid Hat games. Like,
and their art on these games is ridiculous.
Whole shelving. I got a whole area just for Plaid Hat, and I like all their card games. So, and Colin's a cool guy, man. He's a lot of fun. So
the art in like literally all of the Plaid Hat games is just ridiculous. Like the art in this game is no exception. It's just like, man, look at this art. Like, what the crap?
Is it fast? It's
pretty fast overall. Like, yeah.
All right. What other card game would you compare it to? Is it like Ashes? Is it like Magic? Is it like Summoner Wars? What would you compare
It's hard to compare it to any of those.
Is it like Crystal Clans? Because Crystal Clans you push, not necessarily for factories and stuff, but you are pushing.
No, it's very different from all of those because you have these characters that just move out to these locations. I mean, it feels a little bit Smash Up-ish, but Smash Up is very much just a take that game. But you have these different locations out on the board that you're gonna go to and try to take those locations to get points for taking those locations. I think that the Warhammer there was a Warhammer 40K game that Fantasy Flight did that had these planets that you had to fight over, but I didn't play that game, so I don't know. I feel like I lost my video. Okay, there I am.
You did.
I'm back.
We missed you, Roy.
I'm back. But yeah, it feels very different for these kind of games. It feels like one that you can just like get the core box too and just like have a great time playing those over and over again. I mean, you get these LCGs and stuff, and you're like, man, I really need another core set, or I need another thing.
Yeah.
This is one where it's like, oh, I got this, and I can play this a whole bunch of times and not get tired of it, just because there's tons of different combinations with the different heroes you could try out.
See, that's what I love about like Summoner Wars and even Crystal Clans and Ashes.
The replayability is gigantic, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot that comes in the core box.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, Guardians isn't a lot of cards. Like, there's not a whole. I think the price point on it's pretty reasonable. I should look that up. But Guardians is not like an extremely expensive game, but like the gameplay is super solid, and you have tons of variety. Even though it's like you just get a few like of these small deck cards, and then like a deck of Terra-sized cards for the locations. That's pretty much it, and a few tokens. But it turns out to be something like super solid, which is a lot of fun to play. So I'm excited to play it more. So
we'll have to play.
Yeah,
I'd say do a Roy versus Rob, but you already have one up on me.
I know, right? I need to like put that together.
I know you don't want to put it together.
I do want to put it together. It's time, Rob. I never have any time in my life. What am I gonna do? Okay. Cool. The next game I want to talk about is Gen 7, another game from Plaid Hat.
Okay.
Before
you go any further, if you are not going to be completely honest, let's just skip it. Like, if this is going to be one of those things where it's honest. Like, because listen, I love Plaid Hat. They have a lot of my money
for sure,
but
this is scary.
I am not excited for this game, Roy.
It's fine. That's totally cool. I played the game.
I was until I saw stuff, and then I wasn't.
I was super excited I wasn't super excited about the game after I saw it, and I was like, man, mostly because the MSRP on it, and I'm still confused about that. We had like text talking about that, and I'm just like, I don't understand why it's $100. But the gameplay made me actually a little bit interested in it after playing it. But I still would definitely want to play it more to like understand all the stuff. But it's very much a dice placement game that's cooperative, where you're working together to place dice in different areas to collect resources, to be able to spin those resources, to place dice down in different math algorithms to be able to keep this ship from deteriorating. And along with that, there are crossroad cards and a gigantic, I think it's like 7-game branching like campaign that you play through. And it's got a lot of super interesting like mechanics into this game that they've added with the whole branching of the storylines. It's got this pilot book that you're playing through where like
how big is the book?
Say what? It's about the same size as like Stuffed Fables or whatever, like one of those like really thick books. But it's got to be, because if every single scenario that you play branches into at least 2 or more directions, then I mean, if you're playing through 7 games and every single one of those branches, I'm not sure the math on that. Matt's like, math right now, I'm going to figure it out. But it's a lot of different branches and paths you can take on that. But this feels like a game that you have to play for the story, and you're not going to get the one
co-op. There's no trader or anything.
So that's the thing is, there's definitely no trader in whatever we were playing. But I am wondering, it is dead of winter, and I'm wondering there's all sorts of like packets and I guess things that you can open up, like expandable content that comes out as you play through the game. So I'm wondering how much of this game is locked away that you don't know about at the beginning, and how much of it there is that we don't know. They just told me when I asked them about the price point that it's all about the content. Like, there's a lot of content in this game. But I'm like, what's the manufacturing cost? Is that added into it? Like, I want to know. It's funny because
did they give you like an amount of time it would take to complete it fully?
Well, each game it's longer than whatever it said on the website. They said it's like
They said 60 to 90. So originally, it was posted as like 45 to 60 or something like that.
Yeah, just wrong.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and that's per session, right?
Yeah. So you're playing like an hour and a half per game. and then you're branching in these different storylines, and then you're playing through 7 of those. So 7 times an hour and a half, you know, a bunch of hours.
About 10.5 hours, 10 or 11 hours
for one branch of the storyline. And then, of course, they said if you play the first scenario and make a different choice in the very first scenario, then it'll branch in a completely different direction for the entirety of the rest of the scenario. So, I mean, I guess there's a ton of different story throughout the game. But yeah, it's definitely got some other interesting stuff too. Like the Crossroads deck is small, but it's like impactful, and then cards get added in based off of choices you made on previous Crossroad cards. So it's like you have Crossroad cards that change out of the deck and other things get switched in. Like it'll ask you to make a choice about this certain thing that's going on the ship. Do you trust this person or do you not trust this person? Do you do this thing or do you not do this thing? And
so there could be a traitor. There could be that stuff. We just don't know.
And that's what I'm wondering. Like it is a Crossroads game that's following Dead of Winter, and they basically were like, "There's not a traitor in this demo," but I'm wondering if somewhere down the line that sort of stuff gets added in.
Is it in the same universe?
I mean, I thought it was supposed to be like a Raxon ship or something, but I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think they made that public.
Okay.
But
sorry, Matt.
No, you're fine. I do think it is interesting that if they said there is not a traitor in this demo, that seems to be a very.
I mean, they didn't specifically say that for this, but
well,
they said you're playing fully co-op. And I mean, the demo stuff was just the demo stuff, like for the first scenario. They didn't have like a finished production box with all the stuff there and being like, you also can open these packets up or anything like that, which would have been really cool to see and could have like built a little bit more confidence. My thing is, I liked the game. I would like to play the game. I think the story is probably going to be amazing.
When's it coming out?
It's supposed to be Q4 or something, or maybe I don't remember. Q4 or something like that. But the thing is, like, is that $100 there? $100 is a lot for a game, especially when I see a book and cardboard and dice. So one of my friends was like, hey, if you open it up, do you dump out like one of the packages and it's got like all the minis that were missing from what you would expect? But,
yeah.
See, like that's the other thing too. Like when I buy video games, I try to assign a
amount of hours for the value.
Yes, right. So
mean,
it's like if it's a $60 game,
there.
I need to be 60 hours worth of content out of that. So you think,
bro, you do $1 an hour?
Yeah. Well, I mean, typically,
I'm sure you've got that that's like easy, probably. I'm sure it's 100 hours worth of gameplay. I mean, if you're talking about going through one scenario being 10 and then every single one branches completely different ways, I mean, it's got a lot of content in there. But I'm pretty sure me and Rob are on the same train of thought as the value is based off of what it costs to manufacture. You know?
Yeah.
Is that the way you feel, Rob?
I'm a mix.
I mean, I understand.
I feel more off of manufacturing. Like, okay, if this is costing you $30, then sell it for $75 because you need to make, a little over 100% of your profits and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. But, like, I also agree with Matt. And I do that sometimes with my video game purchases and some board games for, like, big board games. Am I going to spend all this money for a game I'm only going to play a handful of times? Is it worth it at the end of the day?
Yeah.
To spend all this money if I'm not going to play it enough? And I think this past year and this year have kind of opened my eyes more to that, Matt, than the other. Because, like, before I was like, oh, it's new, let me buy it. And now I'm like, well, it's new. And I keep selling games off new and shrink because I didn't really play it. So was it worth that price point? So
yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know. I want to know more about it. I want to like it. The other thing that scares me is it's not Isaac's game.
Yeah.
Just to be frank. It's not Isaac's game. And I know we've had conversations with him and other people throughout the show where, like, other people were working on the game and things were like that because as Plaid Hat has grown, his position has grown and he's doing more games and helping other people with games and stuff. So we'll see. But I'm just, like, even though he doesn't know who I am, I know who he is and I love his stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I want to like it. I think it'd be cool if we were to get a copy and to play it. Like this to me, it sort of sounds like Pandemic Legacy, season 1 or 2, right? like with that content, this is that one where I'd be willing to get a box for all of us to try to play it, just because I think it'd be fun to try it out.
And we can let everybody know if
it
it's be like, oh man, it's really good.
Like this is a time where I'd be like, let's get a handful of guys, let's go to the cabin, and let's try to knock out one of these sessions overnight, and we like just play this game.
Yeah, I don't know. Something that worries me about it is I do want to play the game, and I am still looking forward to it. I'm just more hesitant because, to me, it sounds like it's closer to like First Martians, where it's just like do the stuff to get the thing, and then you do this.
That's what I felt. Well, the funny thing is, I said while playing, I was like, I leaned over to the dude because he was from Roll for Crits, so I knew he like worked at a game store, so I knew he'd know what I was talking about. I was like, "Hey man, this feels like I'm playing like a good First Martians." Like, because I mean, it actually was fun. We had a lot of fun, like talking back and forth, the camaraderie around the table, and like being like, "Oh man!" And there's this whole like interesting like hidden objective thing where you're collecting stars to upgrade like your specific like faction character board. It's very legacy-ish in specific things where it's like you have hidden objectives that your opponent doesn't know, like Dead of Winter. We are trying to complete those to get these extra stars, or you can try to keep the ship together. So it's got this whole aspect of like maybe I could help myself out a little bit more than the other players to further my stuff, but then I'll be able to get more of these things that when only playing the demo, you don't even know what that necessarily means, you know? If it's going to unlock more secret content specifically for me, that would be really cool, but you don't get that feel for what all that adds to the game when you're just playing a demo of it. I really enjoyed the demo, and I had fun, especially with the people I was playing with. It was great. We put all the stuff out, and the guy who was doing the narrations for all the Gen 7 stuff was great. Like, he like really got into it, and you could tell this guy was all about this game. And I'm like, man, this is great. He did all the narrations and the things and the crossroad cards. And I was like, man, I really want to play this. But all those other things we said too. So, so yeah, I'm excited about Gen 7, but I also am wondering about, what I see here, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. So there's a video game allegory that sometimes people that I like to watch stream will play, where they'll play games that have sort of a narrative story that is ongoing the whole time, and so they'll play through it and they'll make their decisions, and you know, either they'll hit a point where they die or they get to the end of it, and then they see this map of all the decisions they made and possible things they could have went to, and it doesn't necessarily tell them or show them what it was, but just that there was, if you went that way, there were 5 other options you could have done, but since you went this way, there was only 2. You're like, oh, okay, cool. But every time I see somebody stream one of those games, they're never like, I want to go back and do it again. They're always just like, well, that's crazy. And then they move on to whatever else. Now, that could just be because they stream for a living, and so they're probably like, okay, on to the next thing. We got to keep it up.
Right.
But to me, it almost is like, if you play a game of Time Stories and then you get done and you go, wow, look at all the stuff we didn't do. Are you going to play through that game of Time Stories again to see the different stuff? Or are you just going to be more likely to open up the cards and look through it and go, that's wild.
Yep.
So that's what is a little worrisome.
In the day and age of like a million board games everywhere, it's like once you play through the entire scenario, I mean, you might play it a couple times, but it's like I feel like this is a repeatable scenario, new scenario, take a slightly different pants, play another scenario, and it's just these campaigns. Like, it's a book like slap full of campaigns. And if you're looking for the Gloomhavens of the world and things like that, that's great for you if you want something that's just got hours and hours of content. But it's hard.
But you also have to have like a group of people that are devoted to that, just like you are too.
Yeah. And that is hard to find unless you're specific situations like, hey, I'm in college and we meet for games every whatever.
Yeah.
But when you're like, I got a mortgage and family and it's hard
I've got
to get
work,
stuff
and
together.
sometimes I've got to work nights. Sometimes I've got to go show property over the weekend and blah blah blah. Just man. I'll probably still end up getting a copy, but we'll see.
Yeah, I would love to play it.
Not happy about it.
Yeah.
Hey, side note, have we been doing this for over 3 years now?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing it over 3 years since May.
Because I was just like, episode 166. All right.
It's a lot.
52 weeks.
Some quick math.
And we haven't like there have been some weeks where we've done double, and some weeks where we didn't do anything. But like, bro, we've been doing this for 3 years now.
We've been doing it for more than 3 years. I tell people that.
I know it just hit me like while you guys were talking.
Yeah, whenever people say stuff, I've been like, oh yeah, I've been doing my podcast for 3 years. So it's crazy. Crazy. Cool. Yeah, that's Gen 7. I am excited and interested. But also, yeah. Dark Tower was announced from Restoration Games as like their new game that they're coming out with and restoring. Dark Tower was like this crazy like animatronic thing that had this giant plastic tower that you'd press buttons on electronically. I'm guessing they're probably going to be like putting that stuff into an app, but it'd be awesome if they had like a giant plastic tower that you could slide your phone into. I don't know. But a lot of people were super excited about Dark Tower, so it's kind of cool to see that it's coming
Hey,
back.
they're on a high right now, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They've been doing really well in this Fireball Island. Everybody's just loving it and playing it. I still like some of their other games. And they have a new expansion coming out for Downforce and stuff like that. Like, I'm a big fan right now of Restoration Games.
Justin, remember me. I helped do your very first Kickstarter for one of the first games you ever did.
Stop Thief.
Stop Thief.
Yeah. You guys helped me. We were all there. It happened.
Yeah.
We stopped thieves. There wasn't even an application. I had to read off the things that happened off of a piece of paper.
I remember that.
And then I made sure to like Photoshop in a like floating iPhone that looked like the application. I didn't work. It was fun. But good times. But yeah, I'm excited about Dark Tower. I hope that it's
we were
cool.
so young then.
I know, right? That was like a whole year ago. That was more than a year ago, but
That was more than a year ago.
time flies when you're creating board game content. I don't know.
Working.
Awesome, guys. Well, did you guys get a chance to play anything?
I mean, I got to play some hand and foot with my dad and his wife when they came in. But I've been mostly like at night, if I'm not writing, I've been painting minis.
Yeah.
I'm really jonesing to play Song of Ice and Fire, and I need you to get excited about it. And
I don't think I'm there, man.
I know. I need you to be.
Trevor's tournament experience made me even more scared.
Why? What happened?
Apparently, it was rough.
Well, he got beat. That doesn't mean that the game's bad. It
No,
just means he
a lot of
lost.
different things. Like I guess like the point system and stuff was kind of weird and janky on some of the scenarios and the organizers and things. It was just I wasn't there firsthand, so I don't want to say anything too crazy, but I don't know. I told the guys
Wars,
there.
I'm a Song of Ice and Fire. I'll keep playing Rune Wars. You got to keep playing Song of Ice and Fire.
Okay, just let me know.
I'll get the Wildlings.
Just let me
Well, I
know
know
when the White Walkers come out. It was funny. I was talking to one of the guys. Was like, "Cool, yeah, I'm totally gonna jump in at next CMON Expo when you guys announce the White Walkers." I said it kind of like that, and he's like, just looked at me like, "Huh?" And I was like, "He's like, well, I mean, we'll get there eventually." I'm like, "Yes,
Yeah.
yes." I think he did say they're probably gonna announce something by then, but yeah, I think they're gonna do it right at least and add more factions and keep going with it, which is
Well,
exciting.
Two new factions are coming out this year.
Yeah, and those giants look cool.
The Giants and the Night's Watch. And I love the Night's Watch that has a ballista. And
they have Jon Snow. I mean, one of the best characters in the game, so in that whole story. So, and he's got more wolves.
Bro, I was looking at the Stark cards, man. I think I can make a pretty good Stark army. Like if you wanted to do my Lannister army that I made last, and you play that army versus the Stark army I can make, I think it'd be a pretty good game.
Can we add an initiative system into it? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh man.
That's all good. It's all good. What was I gonna say? Cool. I played a ton of things, but Matt, is there anything you've been interested in?
I've been interested in, yeah. Played anything though.
Hey, just throw something at us. Give us some.
You didn't play hand and foot or card games with family members, Matt?
No, I've played
empty out the room and put down wood floors game.
Yeah, the pipe in my bathroom exploded last Wednesday, so I woke up and thought to myself, who is showering in my guest bathroom?
No.
Look at all
I
this
actually
water.
had a similar experience Sunday, but it was at my house. I was going to do an open house for a client, and I walked in and their kitchen was flooded.
Oh no!
I said, "Oh, open house is now canceled. and I still had people walking in to try to see the house. And I'm like, guys, there's water all over the kitchen. And what happened was the ice maker line popped out. I guess the installer didn't put it in hard enough.
Yeah.
And so it popped out. So it wasn't terrible, but for a few hours, water was just all over there. And people still trying to get in. That's what blew my mind. I'm like,
dude, it's that wine and cheese, man. It's that wine and cheese.
It wasn't even a wine and cheese open house. It was just a regular Sunday afternoon open house. And this one old lady was just like, I just want to see, because I know they've been working on it for a long time. I'm like, ma'am, please don't step on any of the wet stuff. I don't have insurance to cover you. But I just want us all. It looks very nice. All right, man. Thank you very much. Let me help you out. Like, please leave. I'm not even joking. That really happened.
That's awesome. Nice.
Any crazy stories from Gen Con you can tell us? Like after dark stories or?
Well, most of the games I played were like after.
Somebody give you a hug at 3 a.m.
Yeah, I played a 7-player game of Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea because that's our new tradition.
Oh, with the new expansions.
Yeah, with the new expansions. I got to play the bird folk. I found a interesting drawback about the bird folk and the island itself, that you're very visible to all the players. And that everybody wants... That island is so cool, everybody wants to be on it. Everybody wants to be on that island. Like, there's a floating island, why wouldn't you want to put your units up there? And being the bird folk and that being your home area, it kind of hurts a lot. But yeah, I had a blast playing with the guys from Nevermore Gaming and Scott and Nate from Gamelin. It was a blast. But yeah, I got to play the bird folk. I mean, it was super cool just getting to do the whole island thing. Being able to see all the new spells was cool as well. And I mean, I love that game and talk about it too much on the show already. So people get the point. Roy likes Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea.
Yeah.
He likes it a bunch. But yeah, it was cool seeing how the bird folk and the merfolk work and stuff like that. They're just kind of interesting and can do extra movements with flying and things like that. I mean, it was cool to be able to do like 3 moves in one turn, like for the last turn, to be able to grab some extra points. But I had been attacked so many times at that point that I was kind of like, oh man. It's kind of funny too, because it got worse. Like at the beginning, they were attacking me and not winning. Which, once again, like I played a game at Dice Tower Con where that was happening. If you're going to attack me, at least kill my stuff and win. But if you attack me and I win, then I'm just getting a bunch of points. And that makes people more mad at me. So it's like, I have a whole bunch of points. And I'm telling you guys to stop attacking me. But you keep attacking me and I keep getting more points. So you continue to attack me. But I'm just trying to gather resources and build my stuff. Come on, just let me do that. But it's cool. It's fun. But yeah. The island and the underwater thing are cool for the game, and we played with a bunch of the new mercenary guys as well, so that was awesome seeing what those guys can do. There's just so much special abilities and so much craziness in that game that I just love, like, learning all the different things about it. But yeah, I can't wait for my coffee to come in. Michael,
Sweet.
Airship it to us. No, I'm just kidding. Matt wants to try again. Just don't make him be the bird folk and everybody attack him. If Matt was the bird folk, everybody wouldn't attack him. It's because Roy won last year, and Roy was the bird folk. And they're like, one thing that's going to be true, Roy's not going to win this game. And I'm like, I guess you're right. It was fun, though. I love it. I mean, that's one thing about that game is I love it even when I lose, just because the experience of playing through all the stuff and trying to build up your things is just so much fun. But yeah. Cool. I played that. I played more Guardians and stuff. I did all sorts of crazy stories and things. I guess we can go ahead and get into that. Did you guys see the Hot Wings thing I was trying to do?
No. I did. How did it go?
So Gary Pope, which is one of the other Dice Tower contributors, he now does more stuff on his own channel than the Dice Tower, but he was there and was like, hey, we actually at Dice Tower Con I had hung out with him and Emerson and stuff, and the CEO of Arcane Wonder had got some hot wings, and I was like, get the hottest wings they got, man. We'll tear it up. And he got them, and like none of us said they were hot, except for Emerson. Emerson's like, man, these are spicy. And we're like, Emerson, no, they're not.
Oh, no.
and then, so we're like, man, at Gen Con we should get some real hot wings. Well, he wasn't able to make it, but me and Gary Gary put this together, and I was like, Gary, I thought I was supposed to be a part of this. So he's like, oh yeah, cool, man. So we invited everybody to come and have wings with us at this specific location, like Scotty's Pub or something like that. And we just went. Me and him went super early to make sure we could get a seat because Gen Con, we're like, we need a seat for 15 people, and that was actually like the perfect number. We did have some people show up late that wanted to get in that we didn't really have a seat for them, which was kind of sad. But we ended up having like probably like 13 people just show up who were either like a few like media people and just like fans and stuff of our stuff came, and it was really cool to hang out with those guys. But what we did was we had tons of hot wings and we had all the hot sauce, and we just like each hot sauce, we made a challenge. So the challenge was the last person to drink water, everybody has to tweet out and shout out about their stuff over all their social media and in their videos. So I was like, if Gary wins, I'll be like, all right, this Favorite Game Friday is brought to you by Gary Pope and Late to the Table. His stuff is awesome. Go check him out. But that didn't happen, so don't go check out his stuff because Gary didn't win. So no, I'm just kidding. Gary's fine. But yeah, so we did it, and we do the hot sauce, and then like we pass the hot sauce around. Everybody would have the hot sauce, and we'd all be like, cheers, and like touch wings and like then eat the wing. But it was fun. We got down to where everybody was doing super close. We put the bomb at the very last one just because we knew. Like everybody there knew.
Did anybody else have problems with it?
I mean, it wasn't any better than last time we did it. I'll tell you that much.
Did you drink water this time?
Dude, okay, listen. So, I mean, the challenge was to not drink water. So I didn't drink any water. Oh, we'll just tell the story. So we're doing it, and we get like a couple in, and like one guy drops. He's like, I'm just dropping because I want to drink my beer. He's like, this is bullcrap that I can't drink anything. I'm like, sure, man, sure, whatever. Drop out, fine. So he had dropped out, and then everybody was going like for like 2 or 3 more hot sauces, and then we started getting into like the mega death sauce with extra liquid rage and like the last dab and stuff like that, and people were starting to drop out at that. But we still had probably like, I would say 80% of the table was still in when we got to the bomb, which was the last one we had. We did one shot of the bomb. It went down to like 5 people. So like everybody dropped out, including Gary. Like after having the bomb, everybody's like, no, water, must have water now. So I had the bomb without water. And we all just put like a sizable amount, but nothing too crazy. So it's like, okay, well now we all did the hottest one. What do we do now? So it's like, well, we just do more the bomb. So we did a second wing with the bomb. It still sucked just as bad. We still had, I think the 5th person dropped out at that point. And so it was just me and 4 other people. So it was like, it's me and 3 other people. So I was like, dang it, we still have too many people. So I took my wing and just covered it in the bomb. Like hardcore. Like just covered the thing. And I was like, guys, you have to match this. You have to get to this much on your wing. Like no less. And then one of the guys was like, nope, not doing it. And the other 2 were like, I'm there. No joking around. Let's do this. We ate that, and then we're all just like dying. And I'm just like, these guys are not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And we're like, our faces are running, and everybody's red. And like, I'm like, I know how sick I felt last time that I did it. And I mean, I was like, to the point where I felt like I was going to throw up, but I was like hiccuping and crap like that just because it was so spicy. And I'm like, and they're like, well, maybe we should tie. We should tie for it or whatever. And I'm like, I was worried about the health implications of us continuing to do this. Because Gary was like, next you just got to get spoons and do it on spoons. Because we're like running out of wings again. I'm like, I'm not doing spoon shots of the bomb. That sounds unhealthy. At a certain point, it's like, we're just idiots, you know? So they wanted to tie. So I was like, okay, fine, we'll tie. So I said we tie. They immediately drink their waters and their beers and all that stuff. And I'm like, guys, why are you rushing so fast? What are you doing? Like, come on. Like, you don't have to, like, chug it down that fast. You need to calm down. So I didn't drink water till the next morning. Just so I could say that I didn't drink water till the next morning. But, of course, after a certain amount of time, the heat went away. But we may have tied, but we know who really won. But I didn't have to eat more of the bomb because that would be very unhealthy.
I would have eaten the stuff, but I would have been drinking milk and water the whole time.
Yeah,
so just like I did in our video.
That was the thing. You couldn't do it at all. It was there. One of the most funny parts was we're in the middle of it, and one of the waitresses comes up and goes, "Does anybody need more water?" And like 3 people yell no at her. I was like, "No, guys, you gotta calm down." They're like, "No, we don't need water." I'm like, "No, she's just trying to do her job, guys." But it was funny. She was like, "Oh," and we're like, "No, we're doing a challenge where we're not supposed to drink the water, so you're like tempting them really bad right now." So they're flipping out.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. It was really cool to see all the people come out and do it with us, and all the messages on like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook cursing mine and Gary's name afterwards. Like, how could you do this to us? Angry from the toilet tweets to us.
Angry from the toilet tweets.
But,
I'll have to check that out. I haven't been on Twitter in a minute.
But yeah,
how was this Gen Con compared to other Gen Cons?
It was fun. It was a blast. I got to do a lot of great stuff and hang out with a lot of cool people. I don't know, man. I liked it a lot. I mean, I wish Brandon Pleshuk was there, but other than that, no, I'm just kidding. I missed you guys, but yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
me and Hector were literally talking about Brandon Plessick today. We were like, Hector's like, what happened to that guy? I was like, I don't know, man. I hope he's okay.
He's doing fine. He's now like full time with the family company. Remember, his family had that flooring cleaning service thing,
Gotcha.
And so they were kind of pushing him like, are you going to do this or are you not going to do this? And so that last Gen Con we were at, it was kind of like, all right, if I'm going to do this, I need to do it now because my dad's looking at retiring. And so do I take over the company? And so last I talked with him, you know, that's what he's doing. But he also was in a heavy metal band.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know he does some stuff for that. But Brandon Pleshuk, awesome guy. Wife brought me coffee. She's an amazing young lady. That was a Gen Con. Man, that was a fun Gen Con.
Everybody
that
kept
was
asking...
Gen Con before Matt. That was free. And then Matt came back, and then I slept with Brandon. Great guy.
I was talking to Emerson about the first Gen Con we did, Rob, when he came up and Isaac came up and all the nice things they said to us about coming on the podcast. I mean, I don't know if much can even beat that, you know.
No,
because it just meant so much at the time, you know.
Well, and we still look up to those guys.
Yeah.
You know, like we still admire them, and they still do great work and stuff like that. And you know, like it means a lot when. And like I've talked to a lot of people. Like I have people message me on Instagram, and I imagine you guys do as well. Like other stuff, like, hey, thanks so much. Like it means a lot to know that people are listening. And nothing against our patrons and our fans. I love our patrons and our fans. But I mean, imagine one of your people that you really looked up to, like let's say a movie star. Let's just say Chris Pratt. Everybody likes Chris Pratt. Let's just say Chris Pratt just walked up to you one day and said, "Hey, man, I really appreciate that job you did the other day at work."
Oh yeah.
How did you even know I existed? How did you even know that I am who I am? You know, and I'm not saying that Emerson and Isaac are, you know, like as famous because they're obviously not, but like in the board gaming industry, like they're that big to me. Like they mean a big deal to me. And so like this is when we're still young. This is when our audio was absolutely terrible, and we thought it was good. It wasn't terrible because of Skype. It was terrible because of us. This is back when the audio was horrendous. And they're still coming up to us, and they're like, I mean, this is when I'm breathing in the old headset. I don't even have a snowball. Yes.
You know, Robin Darth Vader mode.
Yes. And they come up and like, hey, we listen to you guys. You guys are great. Thanks for having us, blah, blah, blah. And even Emerson, we hadn't even had Emerson on the show yet.
I know. That's when we're like, man, you should come on the show. And he's like, yeah.
Bro, I was so pumped. And Mark Kale, I didn't really know him at the time. He gave me like one of their dice towers. Hey, man, like your stuff. I was like, oh my God.
That was Streed.
Oh, yeah, Street. Sorry. I was thinking Mark Kale because of the chat. But yeah, Mark Street. Board Game Corner.
Man. I was at Dice Tower Con. Me and Kent went to get some coffee.
Yeah.
And I was just in line. And then Mark Kale comes up behind me. He's like, hey, man, shake my hand. Starts talking to me. And I was like, why does he recognize me?
Dude, man,
it's super cool.
You've been doing this podcast for 3 years, and he's been on the podcast with you. Come on, man.
He's only been on the podcast like what, 3-4 times?
Mark's been on here several times for sure.
When I appreciate you, but you're lying, it is terrible. It is completely terrible. It is so bad. And for like the longest time, like especially at the beginning, until I went back and listened to them, I thought we were so good. I was like, oh man, we got this. This is our podcast. You know, it was like in the honeymoon stage. Everything's great. And then if I go back and try to listen to it now, I can't even make it a half an hour in. I'm like, nope, I have to stop. I can't. It's the audio's so bad, and I don't let either.
And we're all not necessarily super comfortable, you know, about it. We're all just like, what do we do next?
I think the thing that's also kind of funny is we still haven't quite nailed the transitions yet. Even now, there's still small moments of awkward silence, but like back then, it was just like crickets.
Well, I talk a lot now, but when I'm nervous, I talk a lot. And so back then, I would just take over like I would talk over everybody. It's so, you know how bad I feel about that? I feel terrible about that.
Hey,
like
stop being an alpha gamer, Rob. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, bro, I was an alpha podcaster, and it wasn't good. It was terrible. Yeah. There's jewels, there's gems, like that whole, Grease and like our little rants and stuff. Those are fun, but just listen to like a regular show, like I can't.
Yeah,
but I love it. I love you guys.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I definitely had a blast. I was mostly there working with the Dice Tower at Gen Con, doing video stuff. I actually worked at the Jack Vassal Memorial Fund booth a ton, so that was cool because the entire like point of the booth was just to like raise awareness for the fund. Like we didn't take any donations at the fund. If people like try to donate, which several people did, we're like, no, you have to donate to the warehouse or the website. But it's just cool to be able to get the word out there because I mean, they're not only looking for people who are interested in like donating, but also people like that are in need because the entire fund is about helping people in the gaming community that have issues that come up that they just can't take care of. When they have catastrophic events like their house burns down or like somebody has medical bills because of cancer they can't pay for. There's places on the website that you can apply to receive money from the fund, and then they'll have a board that decides like, is this something that the fund can help with and take care of, like what amount are we going to use to like take care of this person and help them out. And it's just a great way to help gamers in need, and it's a way to give back to the community that we're all a part of, to like help people that are people in the community helping people that are in the community also. So it's just kind of cool that there's a fund that helps people in those specific situations where they just can't help themselves, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, I got to hang out with Emerson a ton, and that's always fun. Yeah, played a bunch of games, did a lot of awesome stuff. Got to hang out with the Plaid Hat guys a bunch. So that was cool. Got to meet up with Lindsay and the owner of Dogmite at their booth.
Amazing.
Lindsay's awesome.
Yeah.
And I got to hang out with the owner of Dogmite for a while, and it was really cool just talking to him and like him like sharing about his passion for Dogmite and creating all those different products and all the different things they have and how they work on all the different stuff. I mean, he's a super gamer as well. He was talking to me about how competitive him and Lindsay are playing these games. Lindsay be competitive in playing a game? I don't think that's possible. I mean, she's never been like angry about winning or losing a game. Come on.
No, well, I mean, she's never won a game against me. I can say that.
Oh no, she was talking about how, man, I used to listen to the podcast back in the day, and Rob would say stuff like that, and she would be screaming at the iPod or whatever is playing the podcast, and be like, I'm gonna go tweet at them right now. But yeah. It's super awesome. But yeah, it was funny because he was telling me a story about how at Origins they had like this giant Dogmite hammer or whatever that they bring around their conventions, and they've done like discounts if you like raise it over your head and yell like Dogmite or whatever, just crazy silly stuff like that during the con. Well, they had it at Origins, and some guy asked if he could see it, and he immediately like smashed it down on the ground as hard as he could, and it blew into like a million different pieces. I was like, what? Why would he do that? And he's like, I have no clue. Why would this guy do that? That is insane. He's like, I wasn't there, but everybody was just in shock. Like, and some people were asking if they would charge him, and he was like, well, we wouldn't like charge the guy. It's just like, dude, come on, don't break the thing. He's like, but I took the handle from that and remade a new hammer, and that's what this hammer is here. And so it has been reborn.
What a jerk. I would have been pissed.
I'm pretty sure they were. But I was just like, that's insane. I was like, some people.
And they didn't charge him?
I think he just was like, oh, well, and just went off.
I would have been like, oh, well, cups on you.
Security,
hit you
take your badge. Anyway.
What a jerk, man. Like, that's like that guy who like knocks the pizza out of your hand when you're coming out of the restaurant holding like your leftovers or something.
But on purpose.
On purpose, yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But yeah, craziness. But he was like, yeah, I remade a hammer out of the hilt of this one. It was very like fantasy storyline-ish of the forging of the hammer. But yeah, they have like a new thing that they're trying to push, which is like a game deck organizer, but it has like, it's like this long thing that has spaces for your decks and cards, but that has like a tray that magnetically flips over on top of it that has all your token components. So if you're playing one of those card games that has lots of tokens in it, like Arkham Horror LCG or Legends of the Five Rings or anything like that, there's tons of them that use lots of tokens, or Ashes or anything like that. You can put the tokens in there. It has like a plexiglass thing that goes and slots over the token side, so you can like turn it upside down, and it's got magnets. All their stuff has tons of magnets in it, which is super cool.
I just ordered 200 magnets.
Yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, are you gonna be magnetizing all your Rune Wars? Goodness, all your Song of Ice and Fire stuff?
Yeah. Well, just because like last time I played with you, they kept spilling out and stuff, and so
that's awesome.
So it'd just be easier.
Did you find like a thing that's like, oh, this is the perfect size for all the things?
Yeah, some guy said like 6mm by 1.
That's awesome.
Magnets work really well, and so I've got my hot glue gun because I did something super dumb the other day, and I was all proud of myself.
I saw it.
And I don't drink, but it was like it would be a drunk text if I did drink, but I was just like, how about this? I was drunk with pride, but now when I look at it, it's the ugliest, stupidest thing I could have done. I bought this old plastic container like at the dollar store, just like some cheap for $1, and I had scissors and I had hot glue, and I cut up the container to make walls inside of another container. So it's like, and the container was so cheap that like when I went to go cut it, it would like splinter off. And so I have hot glue trying to fill these voids and cracks in these certain areas inside of my thing. And I was like, hey man, I'm pretty proud of myself. Look at all this. This is great. And now when I looked at it today, I'm like, that is the stupidest thing I could have done. Like, Robert, that was dumb. So that's when I ordered the magnets. I was like, one day I'm gonna scrape all this hot glue out and then just magnetize my things, and so they'll just stay in the course that way.
That's pretty cool.
Anyway,
nice.
That was a bad move.
But yeah,
you guys ready to call it?
Pretty close.
Yeah.
It's pretty much about time to make that thing happen. Oh, there is one more story that I wanted to share though. Which pertains to one of our awesome patrons. I think their name is Ubermax on the Patreon and in their email and things like that. But he was at our Patreon level to play a game with me at Gen Con, which is amazing because that's just super awesome. The fact that someone would want to support us enough and like want to play a game with us enough and support us to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So like he was super excited to play Hero Quest with me. He wanted to play Hero Quest with me and his son. It was like a homebrew version of it. So we scheduled it up, and we ended up playing on Saturday. And he like even like bought pizza for us to all eat together and everything like that. And it was super awesome. He had like a specific room in the hotel, I guess, because it was a certain level of the hotel where he got this room. We went in there, it was super quiet. Me and his son were playing, and he had like the rest of his family there. It was great. We got to play this homebrew game of Hero Quest. Have you seen that the best thing about Hero Quest video, Matt?
No, but I think
you need to see. The muscularity. Anyway, it's like this crazy video, but we just kept quoting that the whole time we were playing, just because that video is hilarious. I've watched that YouTube video like a million times. Have you seen it, Rob? The best thing about Hero Quest?
I think I have, but it's an older video though, right?
It is older. Man, I need to just watch it again. It's great. It's that good. Anyway, so we're playing Homebrew Hero Quest, and it was fun because like there was this whole storyline of like this. I was trying to get into all the role playing stuff because like we're gonna basically play Hero Quest like it's D&D, and we're gonna like name our characters and like give them like a little bit of a backstory. So I was like, all right, this is my barbarian, and his name is Howl, and he was raised by wolves. I was trying to make it off the fly. And then I have this dwarf, and he's got like this pickaxe. It's all sharpened, and he like worked in the mines for a long time. But now he's out there slaying monsters and trying to be a hero. And his name is Cole. I'm like Howlin' Cole. It's just actually like whatever. Just silly off the cuff names. And his son was like, kind of like, oh man, I don't know about this whole backstory thing. He's like, well, I have this elf, and he likes to shoot people. His name is Legolas. And we're like, all right, man, cool. And he's like, and my wizard, he's got a gray beard, and we're both looking at him like, if you say Gandalf. But then he made a whole backstory for his wizard, how he used to be a pyromaniac and he loves fire. And I'm like, there you go, man. You're the man. That's awesome. it was a lot of fun. I was trying to role play out as we did different things, and we found like a wolf that the goblins in this tower that we were trying to. There was this giant tower like popping up all over the land, and we're trying to stop it. So we went in there, and there were these goblins like torturing this wolf, and like I helped it, and I was like, oh my goodness, I love dogs, because my one character like was raised. He's like, they're beating like one of my kind, so it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So we saved the wolf and like fed him, and his son did like a healing spell on him and stuff like that, but he was like skittish, so we kind of left him in the room. And we went into another room, and there were 2 Eric Summerers in there, and we were fighting 2 Eric Summerers. And I was like, okay. And he's like, and this is regular Eric and future Eric. And future Eric's like, you're about to die. And I'm like, oh no. So then we fought off Eric, and I was like tweeting at Eric, like, because I know Eric, and I'm like, hey, we're fighting you in Hero Quest right now, and we just killed you in Hero Quest. And he's like, no. And then in came Tomric, so then we're fighting Tom Vassal, and he's got his little dice buddy guy running, chasing after like his son's characters, trying to fight them. And it's like Tom Vassal with a whole bunch of ogres that are helping him out. And he was like yelling like, Sam Z, come help me. And I guess we were running out of time, so he's like, these mercenaries, they never help out or something like that. But we ended up defeating Tom, and he disappeared. But apparently we were fighting off the dice tower. It was kind of random and funny, but I was like, well, I guess I'm beating up Tom. So I like took a picture of like, hey, I'm playing a game of Hero Quest with a patron, and we're fighting you. You're the big bad boss, Tom. And he was just like, what? He didn't understand. But after I explained it to him in person, he was like, oh, man, that's awesome. But I was like, yeah, he just had all the different Dice Tower characters, so he made this whole evil Dice Tower storyline. And I'm just like, if you weren't so evil, Tom, you wouldn't have to make that up. It's pretty much the truth. No, I'm just kidding. Gotta beat you up. No, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun to get to play and hang out with someone that supports the show, man. and is a really big fan, and it was just really cool. It's so much fun and so funny. Like when I would have like fans of the show come up and be like walk past like Sam and Z and talk to me and be like, man, I love you guys' podcast. It was just like, this is great. I don't know, every time. And anybody who like loves the podcast or came up and like asked about the dice or the Pog stuff, it was always fun. Our fans are the greatest. So many people were asking like, man, where's Matt and Rob? And man, I wish you guys were doing the scavenger hunt here. And I was like, man, if we were all here, we would have totally done something. So I
totally would have done the scavenger.
Each time we're all at a convention together, we need to be like scavenger hunt time, because so many people. There were pictures of me taken without me looking again this year. So I was like, wait.
At Gen Con?
Yes, at Gen Con.
Were you being tagged on Instagram?
I think there was like one or something like that. I'm like, why is there a picture of me standing on the stairs and nobody's around? Like, what?
People are like, can I get points for next year, please?
Exactly.
I think that's gonna permanently stay yours, Roy.
Everybody's just gonna keep taking pictures of me everywhere.
Just random pictures of Roy not paying attention or Roy not looking.
Oh man. So, but it was
I love that. That's
a ton of fun. But yeah, everybody missed you guys too. So even like all the people we're talking to, as far as like the designers and like Dice Tower contributors and stuff,
you
they're
can
like,
stop
oh man,
now. They don't know who we are.
They
That's
do.
cute.
Like like they're like, oh man, how's Rob and what's he doing and things like that.
I've been called Roy before. They don't know who I am. It's fine.
They know of your existence, man. And that's what matters.
Who's the tall fat guy in the? Well, he's kind of tall too, but the other big guy. Who are the two big guys on your show?
With all the hair.
Yeah. Who's hair and who's that guy? You know who I'm talking about. You know. Yeah.
Whatever.
Tell him I said hi. Sure.
I did say that people were purposely calling me Rob just because they're like, yeah, everybody calls Rob Roy. We're gonna call you Rob, just as a joke, like an inside joke sort of thing. But I'd always look at it, like, because people would just do it in passing. Like, oh, hey, Rob. And I'd look at them and be like, did they really just call me Rob? Or are they actually confused? And then they, like, smirk at me. And I'm like, they know what they were doing.
I mean, I like you and I appreciate you, Roy. But the only things we have in common are dark hair and our Caucasianness.
We're all the same.
Anyway.
Good times.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was total blast, and I always love going to these conventions. All of us love going to these conventions to hang out and talk to all the people that enjoy our content. Like, and I try to make a point, like, when I'm available at all, to like stop and like ask people. Like, people would stop me and be like, "Oh man, I love the podcast and love all the stuff," and then I'd like just talk to them and try to have a conversation about how they're enjoying the con and what they're up to and how things are going for them, instead of just like try to make it like a meaningful interaction instead of just being like, "Okay, cool, bye." But yeah, whenever I got a chance, I was like trying to interact with you guys and talk to you guys more, just because it's fun. It's really hard at Gen Con. It's not one of those things where it's like we did at Dice Tower Con, where it's like if somebody enjoyed our show, they just came up and sat down and played games with us like the entire convention. Gen Con's a super rushed, but it's definitely fun. And everybody that stopped by and said, "Hey, loved your stuff." Definitely thank you to all you guys, and that's why we do this.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I guess we're gonna wrap this thing up. And we do want to say, check this out every Tuesday night at youtube.com/Epic Gaming Night. We do it at live, 9 p.m. every Tuesday. Make sure to check us out there. Join us in chat. Darth Grader holding down the house tonight. Everybody up in here.
Darth Grader's always holding down.
Dude, I know it's time to start the podcast when Darth Grader starts talking in chat. He's like talking in chat before the podcast starts. That's dedication. I recognize it, Darth. You're the man. But yeah, we also want to say thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons that help us do Epic Gaming Night. If you do want to support the podcast and help us to be able to do more things, make sure to check us out at patreon.com/Epic Gaming Night. I'm going to have to rebuy up on all of our dice and things like that because I handed the rest of those out. We handed out some at Dice Tower Con, but I handed out the rest at Gen Con. So definitely new editions of dice are going to have to be coming soon. So we can try to get some different arts up in there. Maybe we'll try to do some sort of... We'll have to brainstorm and see if there's some other sort of logo or something crazy we want to put on a die, Rob and Matt.
What do you
put some cheese on a die? That'll be like Matt's die. We could each have like our own themed die. That would be great.
There you go.
Where do you get the dice from? Is it Chessex?
It's Chessex, yeah. So you're trying to do a collaboration buy-in of dice, Rob?
Well, I was looking at their website and I was like,
I want all of mine to have the Lannister symbol on them. I'm just kidding.
I don't even like the Lannisters.
Red and gold color.
I don't even like the Lannisters.
Except
I mean, in the game, I like them, but that's because everybody else was like, I want to play with House Stark. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll play with the Lannisters.
Awesome. Well, thanks, everybody who came out. Make sure to check us out at Epic Gaming Night on Twitter and Instagram, and at Writing Newman, at Writing.Newman on Instagram.
Writing.Newman.
And Shades of the Mind as well, because, everybody follow Matt. And tell him
Matt's
to post more.
We need to do a game day soon, just us and
no joke.
AJ and Hector and
Mega Moose is coming up soon. Are you guys doing Mega Moose?
I may go for Saturday.
Yeah, that's
I
about
have
the thing.
asked off for it.
Yay!
We'll see what happens.
Well, I do remember that me and Matt both have tickets that we can get in, so for passes.
Well, I'm getting in. I'm not worried.
That was back
Mark
in the day.
stop me.
Mark sent me press passes just for me and Matt. It was like, send this to
Did
Rob.
he really?
Make sure he knows. Yeah. He's like, make sure Rob knows that you and Matt are getting in for free and that he's not on the list. And
hey, you know what? I'll buy my cheap pass and get in.
man, he needs to do what he did with what said he was gonna do last year with the signs, like this man not allowed or something like that.
Yeah.
So much fun. Okay, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys.
Hasta luego.
Peace.